Time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-400-8009. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston, and welcome to another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. Almost 9 years of it on this program, giving you my opinion of the real estate market, helping you become a more informed consumer. So if this is your first time tuning in, I've been selling real estate for 17 years, sold about 1,200 homes, about $1 billion worth of real estate here in the Charleston market, and I help you better understand what's happening right now in the real estate market so that if you're considering buying, selling, investing in real estate, maybe selling real estate, you know what's happening. You know the right questions to ask, and you're prepared for the move ahead. So today, I want to talk about a few different things. I've got a few different questions that I thought might make some great radio content, quite frankly. And so I want to talk first about buying a home in an HOA or buying a condo in an HOA. There's a lot that you need to understand, a lot of questions you need to ask so that you can avoid some very unfortunate situations that you might find yourself in had you not done your homework. So I want to talk about HOAs. I want to talk about staging. You know, does staging make sense? Is it something that's going to make you money? Should you incur the expense? Does it really matter? There's some great new things going on with staging that I want to tell you about. I also want to tell you about some things that you as a seller should never say to a buyer. There are times where we find clients get into situations where agents ask them or buyers even ask them inappropriate questions, and the agents know what they're doing. So I want to give you some things, some situations really, where let's say that somebody knocks on your door for a showing, they're a little early, you're on your way out, they're on their way in, and you exchange some small talk. You have to be really careful about that kind of stuff. So I want to talk about that. And then finally, we'll finish off the show if we have some time, just talking a little bit about the market, but we'll do a much larger market update next weekend. So without further ado, let's kind of get into it. Let's talk about buying a home in an HOA. And I guess first, if you want to contact me, if at any point in time you're listening and you're saying, you know, Brian is the type of person I'd like to discuss my search with. I'm looking for a new home. I'm considering selling a home. Maybe I'd like to invest in some real estate. You know, I've worked with hundreds of investors. I've invested personally. I own a private money lending company. So aside from just helping people buy and sell, we also have a property management company and a hard money lending company. So if you want to reach out to me, the number to call is 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065. Or check us out online, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So let's just start first with some basics for HOAs, condos, townhomes, so on and so forth. They were designed initially to just maintain the quality of life for the community's residents and protect property values for all owners. And because in a condo, as an example, you have multiple people living in the same building that all have an equal percentage ownership interest in the common elements of the condo community. And so you are charged either an HOA fee or in a condo, a regime fee for things like common area maintenance, landscaping, elevators, swimming pools, clubhouses, parking lots, fitness rooms, sidewalks, roofing, windows, exterior, all those types of things. So I think the first thing that you need to ask yourself if you're a buyer considering purchasing a home in an HOA is to just consider your temperament. Are you the kind of person who hates being told what to do? I mean, if so, living in a community with an HOA might be a very frustrating experience for you. Obviously, one of the major benefits of homeownership is the ability to customize and kind of alter your property to suit your needs. But HOA rules can really interfere with that. And there are some stories that I could tell about properties that people purchased that they had grand plans on doing certain things without reviewing something like the covenants and restrictions and the Architectural Review Board guidelines to ultimately find out they couldn't do what they want to do with the property. So that kind of takes me to my next step, which is that you really need to learn the HOA's rules. So if you're buying a home in a community run by a homeowners association, HOA, then you've probably heard about covenants and restrictions. So what are they? It's this term kind of conjures up images of this like satanic cult, right? Restrictive covenants. It's just covenants, restrictions. They're not really as ominous as they sound, but you really have to go through them with a fine-tooth comb. Restrictive covenants differ from community to community. So there's really no one size fits all. If I live in an HOA, then these are the rules that I have to abide by. Some of those things might include, colors that you can paint the outside of your house, landscaping standards, types of fencing allowed, types of window treatments allowed, even inside your own home. Limitations on the type of security lights you can attach to your house, what kind of flag you can fly, if any, what type of vehicle can be parked in your driveway. If you have a commercial truck, something that you use for work, there are some HOAs out there that do not allow commercial vehicles to be parked in the driveway. Same thing with boats. That's a huge one here in the Charleston area. A lot of HOAs do not allow you to park your boat in the driveway. You can't have it on the side of the street. And even if it's behind a fence, it has to be outside of a visible line of sight. So there are just all these things that you need to review when you are looking through the covenants and restrictions, considering buying a home in one of these communities. And I'm here to tell you that, and God help you if you are serving on the board of a homeowners association. It's really like the most thankless job on the planet, because really all you do is fielding complaints. I know that you're all gathering together for the betterment of the community, but you of course have people out there that abuse their power, that drive around, and if your garbage can isn't off of the street by 5 p.m. on the day that they have trash, then they're going to issue a fine. And there are people that take that extremely seriously. There's something else, though, that's really important that you need to consider when you're buying a home or a condo or townhouse in an HOA that may or may not have a regime. And that is the budget that they maintain for regularly scheduled maintenance. Now, this has been a massive issue in Charleston over the years. Again, I've been selling real estate for 17 years. I can't tell you at this point the number of condo communities I have seen that have issued their owners a special assessment because they didn't have enough money in their reserve fund to pay for the things that needed to be done to the property. Now, some of these things are planned, like, hey, a roof only lasts so long. Siding needs to be painted. Landscaping needs to be updated, so on and so forth. Some of these projects obviously are much more costly than others, but then you have things that are a little outside of your control, like all of these lawsuits that have been filed against developers of condo communities. I think probably most of them being apartment conversions into condos, but there have been plenty of condo buildings that have been built from the ground up that have had issues with flashing, as an example. So water would pour into a unit. They find out after this happening for quite a while that the water has not only damaged the interior unit, but it's damaged the siding. It's the framing is rotting, and it creates this need, of course, to fix the issue. And so they go after the developer and they try to sue them. And I went through this very specific situation in a condo that I owned that I actually sold last year, but I bought it in 2006. You'll get this. I bought this condo for $140,000 in 2006. And at the bottom of the market, I want to say it was around 2011, I could have sold that property for no more than $45,000. So that was how much the market affected the condo. But what happened on top of that was that we had flashing issues. We had water that was pouring into units. We had grading issues. We had just a lot of issues. Now, to fix all of those issues cost, I think, $1.7 million. We were only able to collect $1 million from the developer. And then from there, we had to deduct the attorney's fees, which was hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so we were basically left with about $1 million that we as a community had to come up with. Well, that's a pretty tough pill to swallow when the property that you bought for $145 or $150 is now worth a third of what you paid for it. And on top of that, you have an $8,000 special assessment. I mean, at one point in time, my $45,000 condo had like a $700 a month regime fee, because it was the regular regime fees for the common area maintenance, the exterior insurance, plus the monthly payments for the special assessment. So that, if I can impress one thing upon you, is to review the financials for the community that you're considering buying in to determine how healthy their reserve fund is and how well they manage the money. Because if that's not the case, if something goes wrong, not only are you going to get hit with a special assessment, but it's also a question of how much. I mean, there are some properties right now on Isle of Palms where the owners just got slapped with a $250,000 special assessment for a multitude of issues within the overall condo community. So you have to be really careful about this. But there is one good thing, I think, and that is that you can, in fact, change restrictive covenants. We are actively trying to do this in the neighborhood that I live in right now. The covenants and restrictions that we adopted as a community were drafted by the builder. And then when it switched over to being run by the property owners, the restrictive covenants really haven't been updated all that much. So there's a lot of information that's just no longer applicable, that doesn't make sense for how people use property today. So if you're going to purchase a property in an HOA, then I have a list of 75 questions that you could ask. Now, if you go to a community management company and you ask these 75 questions, I'm not entirely sure they're going to sit around and answer all these questions. It's a lot of questions. Pick and choose the ones that are important to you. But if you want a copy of that list, then go to listingsincharleston.com and just click on the contact page. And in the subject, just type in HOA, and I will send that list of questions to you so that you're as prepared as possible if you're considering buying a home in an HOA or in a condo that has a regime. But mission critical that you understand the rules surrounding the property that you're about to buy, and to also ensure that the home that you're buying isn't already out of compliance with HOA rules. That's another really important factor. So again, if you'd like that list, list of questions, go to listingsincharleston.com, click on the contact page and just type in HOA, and I'll send you that list of questions to ask. When we come back, I want to talk about home staging. Does it really work? Does it make you more money? Are there any workarounds, or are there any alternatives to going out and renting thousands of dollars worth of furniture? I'm going to answer that question when we come back. Stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. And remember, if you want to reach out to me, call or text 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.